Hey everyone! So today we are going to be examining counselor competency and wellness. And the references that I'm going to be using for this is going to be the ACA, the Florida Department of Health, and then a journal article written by Steve Hunter, which will be examining counselor burnout, compassion fatigue, and secondhand depression. And pertaining to the state of Florida, and the most common ethical violation that is taken to the board for discipline is actually sexual misconduct and inappropriate relationship. That was a majority of what I was seeing online through the Florida Department of Health. My personal reaction to this is, in a way, I'm kind of surprised because I do feel that this can definitely be avoided through reflection and self awareness. Obviously, this whole video is about counselor competencies and wellness and taking care of yourself. And I really feel that if a counselor is truly taking the proper steps to reflect on their thoughts and their feelings and their emotions, that can really help to bind those thoughts and feelings and help them to realize that maybe they need to seek some professional help, or maybe they need to step away from this client and refer out. There's a lot of different roads and routes that you can go, but the biggest thing is you don't want to cross those boundaries. And so, for me, seeing that is the biggest ethical violation for this state just shows me that counselors aren't setting proper boundaries for themselves. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not reflecting on their thoughts and their feelings, which I feel is extremely important. Self-care and lack thereof, and how it can affect impairment. Kind of as I was just talking about, self-care, self-awareness is huge, not only for your mental state, but to make sure that you aren't crossing boundaries and you're not crossing lines and you're not having any ethical violations. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions, they can become too much. They can become overwhelming. And so reflecting on your sessions and how you're feeling and your thoughts after that, like I said, can kind of be a checks and balance system. It can help you to determine when it's appropriate for you to step away from that client, or when you actually need to go seek some professional help for yourself. And within the counseling field, there is that stigma that us as counselors, we don't need to seek help because we are so good at helping others. Well, that is pretty much the reason why we should be seeking help. We give so much to our clients that we tend to put ourselves on the back burner. And so reflecting and realizing when you need to seek that help is very, very big. That leads me to burnout, compassion fatigue, secondhand depression. That reflection and those steps that you take to, take your mind off of work and to go out of town, go on vacation, spend some time with your friends and family. There's so many steps that you can take to help keep yourself mentally well. And if those steps aren't taken, you can start to see yourself burn out, maybe even start seeing signs of compassion fatigue. And those can very easily lead to that counselor becoming impaired and using substances such as alcohol or drugs. The list is endless. So that self-care, I feel like, is something that needs to be implemented even in us as students, is something we need to start working on, and making sure we're taking care of ourselves mentally and we're keeping track of our thoughts and feelings. Because I feel if that habit is started early on and it builds from the early stages, that when you get to that point where we are practicing counselors, you might hopefully have a better handle on your thoughts and your feelings and emotions. And, if it is time to seek help or step away from a client, or what that step might need to be. The ACA on impairment, they define impairment as when a counselor's physical, mental, and emotional health is compromised. So they also mentioned something that I really like and I found interesting, that your coworkers and supervisors play a really big role in kind of keeping an eye on you, in a sense. If they feel that you're crossing the line and you are partaking in ethical violations, or maybe that your mental state is just not there and you're impaired and maybe you shouldn't be practicing, or maybe you need to seek professional help. It's kind of a checks and balance system within, which is really nice. With that being said, though, it brought up a question for me. When is that line that you can address that informally with a coworker, or where is it drawn in the sand that needs to be taken to the board? I feel like there's a really fine line between being able to address it informally and taking it to the board. So that brought up a lot of questions for me as to what that looks like. And then I really want to end this with one of my favorite verses that I have been taking to heart lately with my self-care, and it's Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And, us as Christians and believers, the problems that we have, the stresses that we're feeling, the burdens that we're feeling, that all can be taken to God. And He will take care of us. He will give us the rest that we need. He will give us the energy that we need. He will give us everything that we need. But we need to put our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, and our trust in Him. And all will be okay. So I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say.